Welcome to Sports Tonight on this Thursday. I'm sports producer Scott Pennyman here with sports producer Lee Smith.
Hello, hello.
How about that, man? They let
Three
us,
times this week, man. What's going on?
and they let us both on here together,
I
man.
know.
There's got to be some sort of law against that, man. That's kind of crazy, right? Never.
It
I don't
is.
think we've ever done a show together.
Hey, this is it. This is the this is the first time, and hopefully it's a good one.
Right? They let us both on TV. You know,
Yeah.
that's you don't see that too often.
No,
man.
you
That's,
don't.
That's pretty dope. Hey. Let's
Hi.
start off today. Let's talk some Atlanta Falcons, since I think, probably me and you probably go out there the most, right?
Yeah.
So this week, Falcons have taken place in minicamp.
Yep.
They've had their mandatory minicamp this week. Pretty much everyone's there, except the guys who are out injured and everything.
Yep.
So one of the interesting takes from the last few days is first-round pick, top 10 pick, Bijan Robinson, who's expected to be a versatile guy in the Falcons' offense and everything. We kind of knew he'd be versatile, but he was
Oh,
taking
he's versatile? I haven't heard that yet.
Right. That's all they talk about is his versatility, right? So he's out there this week taking some reps as a wide receiver.
Yep.
I don't know how much that was expected for him to just kind of be playing some pure wide receiver. What's your thoughts about that?
I mean, if the guy's good enough to do what he's got to do to stay on the field, guess what? Go ahead and go for it. Because the more versatile you are, it can only help the team that much. I mean, Cordell Patterson kind of does the same thing, too. He's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, but he's getting a little older. So guess what? You draft Bijan Robinson. You basically, that's a heavy ask for a first-round pick to be a running back. Goodness, I can't even remember the past couple of years where that's really happened. But they took a chance on him, and now he's got to go out and prove it in every way he can. And guess what? He can catch the ball. He can obviously run the ball. I'm sure he can block. It's going to be good to see him. He's an explosive dude. And like you said, first time going with wide receiver reps. Mm-hmm. And like I mentioned a couple of days ago, I actually saw him doing punt returns.
Oh.
So
Yeah, I saw that video.
Yeah, and like I said the other day too, I don't think that's going to ever stick. But I guess crazier things have happened. It's the NFL. You never truly know. And they might get desperate, but he's definitely going to be a good change of pace for him because you can catch out of the backfield. You can just add that, more dimension to the offense and make it more versatile for everybody, and it makes everybody else's job a little easier.
Yeah, and I think it really speaks to, the fact when you take a running back in the top 10, you really have to justify it, right? Especially in today's NFL when teams don't run the ball the way they used to. So I think you really have to justify being able to draft a running back that high. Part of that is use him in a lot of different ways. I think that they're going to try to beat people over the head with Bijan Robinson. I think they're going to find him out the backfield. You may find him back on kickoff returns. He's going to run the ball. I think the more things that he's able to do and the more ways that you can put the ball in a playmaker's hands justifies taking him in the top 10 because once again, in this day and age, the running back position as far as one guy has been kind of devalued over the years. So I think for them to have the confidence, for them to have the just the overall faith in Bijan Robinson to take him that high in the NFL draft, I think it says a lot. So, yeah, I think they're going to do everything possible to get every inch out of his talent, every inch out of his abilities. And I think a lot of it, too, is you had Tyler Algier in the backfield last year who got 1,000 yards rushing.
Yep.
So I think they want to keep him in the mix. You still have Cordell Patterson.
It's a long season, dude.
Yeah, it's a long
17
season.
games is a long time. That's a lot of wear and tear on a running back's body.
Yeah.
So you got Algier, who's coming off a 1,000-yard season. You've got Bijan Robinson, who's coming off a stellar career at Texas.
For sure.
And then you've got Cordell Patterson, who seems like he's been doing it forever.
Right, hasn't he?
You'll need that depth to get through the season.
For sure.
Especially if they have lofty goals going to the playoffs and win maybe a game or two. So anything like that you can add to the mix, it's only going to be a positive for them.
That's true. It feels hot out here in the studio today, man.
I know,
I'm
right?
ready. I must be so fired up. Yeah. But look, I'm with you though. Not as hot as it is out there when you're out there shooting Falcons minicamp, right?
Hey, it hadn't got that hot yet.
That's true.
Give it about another month.
That'll
be fun.
That's so true. But no, yeah, I think along the lines of what you said, I think, we've talked so much about the running back position in today's NFL. You see guys like Dalvin Cook who got released from the Minnesota.
Crazy.
Right. And he
Crazy.
really, And like I talked about, most backs you see get released is normally after like a big downslide in a year or just, kind of like a big drop off. So I think a guy like Dalvin Cook, he stayed pretty steady. Maybe had a little drop off, but he's still been a very productive guy. When you see him get released, when you see other running backs around the NFL, Saquon Barkley, having trouble getting a long-term contract. The back with the Colts had a big season a couple years ago.
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor. He had a big season a couple years back. He spoke very candidly this week about maybe not being able to get a contract done there with the Colts long term. He spoke very candidly and very concerningly about
Derrick Henry with the Titans
Derrick
too.
Henry, right? Teams generally don't want to give away those big long-term contracts to running backs because of the wear and tear. So I think that if you're a guy like Bijan too, I think this may work out in your favor too, because I think you're going to see a 2 or 3 man rotation in the Falcons' backfield. That's going to extend Bijan's career a lot longer than if he was a workhorse back.
Well, they've got him for at least 4 years and 5th if they pick up that option. So the future looks bright at running back for the Falcons. That's for sure.
Is that the way we're going with the position, though? Do you think? Are we kind of going a way where teams are just going to sort of just every 4 or 5 years change him out like he's like his car tires? Or something?
You save money like that. Look at Saquon. Come on. Traditionally running backs don't last into their 6th, 7th year and be as productive as they were on their rookie contract. So it's a way of life. It's not
crazy.
Great for them. What's the alternative? To not be a running back in the NFL?
They just kind of look. For young kids coming up playing football, I don't think running back. Look, when I was growing up,
I definitely wouldn't go that
route.
Back. No.
Yeah, just think when I was a kid and I grew up watching guys like Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, Thurman Thomas, just workhorse backs. I grew up playing football wanting to be a running back because I thought that was the glamour position. Everybody wanted to play running back on my, football teams when I was getting older and playing organized football. Everybody wanted to be a running back, but I think now it's really changed. I would think every kid would want to be a quarterback or a wide receiver or a pass rusher because those are the big money positions in football nowadays.
Well, I'll tell you what, Scott. I don't know if I've found my calling in life quite yet, but I'm pretty sure running back is not in the cards for me.
Well.
So,
Well, then you can fit the pass rusher. There you go. I think that's where it's at. Because
pass rusher. Oh, I'm a blocker all day, buddy. Well, I ain't no pass rusher.
I grew up wanting to play back, man, just because that's what you saw. And I just wonder I just wonder what way that's going now, just because pretty much if you're not a quarterback, if you're not a running back, if you're not a wide receiver, a left tackle, a pass rusher, or anyone who has anything to do with the passing game, you're probably not going to get big money in the NFL because they aren't giving anyone else those sort of long-term extensions for the most part.
Yeah, it's just crazy to see a guy like Dalvin Cook just fall off the planet right there. I can't believe that.
With some
I'm just telling you, I had
tires.
him a couple years in my fantasy league, and I was just kicking tail with Dalvin Cook.
I hope he's not on your fantasy team no more, man.
No, not this year.
All right.
I don't know if he's going to be on our roster.
So, yeah, that's true. So, let's flip it ahead to some basketball, right? So,
Okay.
The Denver Nuggets today celebrated their NBA championship, their first one in 47 years.
Yeah.
They beat the Miami Heat in a gentleman's sweep, 4-1. So, today, the parade took place in the streets of Denver. There was a bunch of celebration going on, and of course, at every championship parade, you gotta have either a player or a coach hopping on the mic saying, "We're gonna do this again next year. We're gonna be right here again next year." And Coach Malone, he's been very candid about that. He says, "Look,
why not?
We want to do it next year.
Why not?
Well,
is this one of the more impressive finals performances, or I guess postseason run in a while?
Yeah, I think.
They just dominated.
For sure. I think when you look at
once they got past the Lakers,
it was smooth. So, but I guess you would say after they got past the Suns, it was smooth sailing. They only lost one more basketball game.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that was a team that's been pretty good for the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's just really so. I guess my question to you, as opposed to you, do you think the Nuggets can run it back?
They can if they keep this core intact. If they've got Jokic and Murray, I don't see why they wouldn't have. Nothing's ever easy in professional sports.
Sure,
it's not gonna be easy. But if they got Jokic, look, the guy's impressive. I mean, everybody's talking about Embiid being the best, regular season MVP and all that. I mean, given what Jokic has done in the playoffs, I think it's pretty evident that everybody sees it. Like, guess what? Jokic was better. And he is the most non-flashy superstar, super talented. I mean, he might even be the best player in the NBA today.
Probably is. I think he would get a lot of votes for that.
I mean, it's crazy to see that. It's cool for the city of Denver to see all that. I mean, they were having a good time today.
For sure, and that's like what I talked about. For me, this is about, I just love seeing a small market basketball team like Denver, they're not on your conventional path, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not Los Angeles, they're not Miami, they're not glitz and glamour.
Yep.
That's a middle America, mid-market
done.
team that found a way to build their team, that found a way to develop Look, Jokic was not drafted to be a superstar player. He was a second-round draft pick. He made himself, and the organization helped make him into a superstar player, maybe the best player in the NBA. They drafted Jamal Murray.
Mm-hmm.
They drafted Michael Porter Jr. They traded for Aaron Gordon. They got guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I mean, that's a team that they were able to
Georgia
build.
guy.
Yeah, Georgia. Yeah, he went to UGA, right?
Georgia guy, a Missouri guy, and a Kentucky guy.
Exactly.
Look at that.
Exactly.
SEC.
Well, SEC all over the Denver Nuggets, right? In basketball too. But yeah, I mean, I just think it makes you feel good, especially.
What are you laughing at over there? What you laughing at? Michael Porter Jr. Are you just happy that Missouri got put on the map for
Mizzou,
one basketball
yeah,
season?
Exactly.
He played 15 games that year, and sorry, go. I digress.
Well, that's been Michael Porter Jr.'s career so far in the NBA, But this year he's
he's
healthy,
got a
it done.
ring.
Exactly, he got that championship, and like I said, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good just to see I know it makes me feel good coming from a mid-market place like myself, Cleveland, Ohio. When we won a championship in 2016, the city went crazy. Everyone was going crazy. It looked a lot like Denver today. So I think it means more to those smaller market teams because you don't know when you're going to get back because you aren't going to be able to have free agents flock to you to be able to keep you being a great team. You've got to build through the draft. You got to make creative and smart trades. That's how you have to win when you're in a smaller market. So I think when you finally get a team that's able to play at a championship level and win a championship, it means so much more to smaller markets because you don't know if you're going to make it back there again.
Well, no, and guess what? I came from Birmingham, and we don't have a professional team. So
right?
there you go. I don't. Your whole mid market and large market comparison. I'm a no market comparison.
You would just love to have a team. Huh?
Yes.
No, I get it. Yeah.
But no, that's cool. It's really cool for the city of Denver, and yeah. Good luck next year.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, as far as do I think they can run it back, look, let's be real. It's hard to win a championship in the NBA.
Yeah.
So no matter what your team looks like, you can't assume somebody is going to run it back. So I'm not going to assume the Denver Nuggets will run it back and have a chance to make it.
I don't even know what their contract situations are like. I don't know what their deals are. Murray and Jokic are coming back, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
but everybody past that,
shape.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so right now, contractually, they're good with pretty much their whole starting lineup and they have some role players who were up this year. Bruce Brown is going to be a free agent.
That's a pretty big addition.
Yeah.
I mean,
he had a really good, he was one of those guys that really stepped up and I think it was game 4, he had a really big game in the finals and really kind of finished that game off. But their core is intact. Their core will be intact for the next couple of years. I think that's why so many people believe that that they're here to stay, that they can have, at least 3 or 4 more realistic chances of winning a championship. And I think that's what they'll be. I don't necessarily know if they'll win back-to-back.
3 or 4 more, really?
Well, no, I don't think they'll win 3 or 4 more, but I think they have the kind of team right now where I think they'll be in the conversation for a championship for the next 5 years.
Okay, yeah. I don't know, man. That window closes real fast in the NBA.
Yeah, I think
2 maybe. I'll give it 2.
Well, I think in a lot of situations it closes fast, right? I think when you have a manufactured team and guys on short contracts, I think that window closes fast. I think when you have a team like the Nuggets are right now, where kind of everyone is in that prime age, I really compare the Denver Nuggets to what the San Antonio Spurs were in the early 2000s, just because I think they have a strong structure in place. And you have an unselfish superstar.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Exactly, like Tim Duncan.
When your best player is a guy who doesn't mind to not get all the glitz, the glam, the attention.
Right.
It usually ends up better for the team as a whole in the long run.
Yeah.
And I promise you, looking at him the other day when he was celebrating in the locker room,
He looked bored almost.
he's
like-
just half-heartedly opening the champagne and spraying it. Like, oh, well, it didn't work. Okay, I guess I'll go back.
Right,
done.
he looked like one of the most.
He looked semi-depressed when they told him the parade was going to be today.
Well, he
He's
wanted
like,
to go
I
back
want to
home.
go home.
He wanted to go back home to Serbia, right? He wanted to go home.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he's got priorities. I understand. You got to have priorities in life.
He looked like one of the most unimpressed NBA champions I've ever seen.
He did.
He got the trophy, and he's like, "Oh yeah. Here, what's next?" It was like no big deal to him. And that's why I say that this team kind of reminds me of the San Antonio Spurs in the 2000s, and he kind of reminds me a lot of Tim Duncan.
Unselfish.
Again, I won't say that he's as good as Tim Duncan, but just his demeanor and how he plays the game and how selfless he is reminds me a lot of Tim Duncan. And the selflessness of their team reminds me a lot of the San Antonio Spurs.
Yep, I agree. I agree with you, Scott.
All right, I was making sure. Well, I just want to make sure I got my point out there, man. Hey, so I think one thing we want to know is how, especially the people in the Atlanta area want to know, how could the Hawks get to that level, right? And with the NBA draft coming up next week, there's a lot of trade rumors swirling around, a lot of guys, and for the Hawks, that a lot of that trade talk seems to center around John Collins, right? I mean, it seemed like it has for the last couple of years.
Yep.
So there's seemingly some interest. I know the Dallas Mavericks have been a team that were thrown out as a team who has interest in John Collins. I mean, look into your crystal ball. What do you see happening next, I guess you can say this summer, as far as the Hawks roster?
I have no clue. I have no
Your crystal ball
possible
doesn't have a clue?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm just saying, all I know is that in a couple of weeks when the draft happens, it's going to be all up in the air. I mean, honestly, like who? Okay, so what happens if they do move on from John Collins? I mean, they were trying to trade him all last year, supposedly. So you couldn't move him then, and that was during the season. So I don't see why. I mean, if you had a chance to trade him off to a contender and they couldn't get that done during the season, I don't really know how much of a trade value he's going to have right now.
Well, remember it's draft season, right? So, I mean, I think that this time of year you have a lot of picks that are going to be moved around.
Yeah.
Could he be moved for some picks? Could he be, to a contender, a team like Dallas, who I think he fits in very well with for how he plays the game, for how he wants to play. I think John Collins is a valuable piece for a team who's looking to contend, just because I think he's been on a team in the Hawks that made a championship, well, not a championship run, but they made the Eastern Conference Finals. So he's gone deep in the playoffs before, and I think he plays the kind of selfless basketball that championship teams desire. Yeah. So I do feel that he'll be kind of one of those guys whose name is going to be floated a lot this week, especially on draft day.
He's definitely proven he's unselfish. I mean, when you have Trae Young on the court and DeJounte Murray taking all the shots, you don't really have enough time to get the ball. I mean, it is what it is, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he's always been impressive though when he's ever talked to the media. I mean, I've never had a bad encounter with him. He's always a stand-up dude, and I mean, whatever happens, I wish him a lot. Good luck.
He is certainly, he's one of the more mature basketball players I've ever been around, as far as how he handles his business, as far as how he handles the media and his influence on a team. So I do think at this point it might be the best the best for him and maybe for the team to move him to a more contending team, because I think at this point in his career, I think that's where he's at. I think he's at a point where he belongs and probably deserves to be on a team that is seriously talking championship.
So you think the Mavericks are going to contend more than the Hawks next year?
I do.
Really?
And I feel that way just because I think...
I mean, they didn't make the playoffs this year.
That's true.
And they kind of ended... I mean, suppose they threw the last couple of games to get to stay out of the playoffs.
That's true. And I think you're right. But
for a better pick.
I think that's one of those teams, though, that you look at, and I think this year is kind of, what do they call it, an aberration. I think this year was more of that for the Dallas Mavericks, because when you look at that roster, you obviously have Luka Doncic, who most people feel is one of the best players in the NBA.
Yep.
If they can hold on to Kyrie Irving, which I have a hunch that's the way things are going to go. So if you can hold on to those two, they didn't play a lot of games together last year. I think they may have played 15 or 20 games together, tops. So I think that
it just depends on whenever Kyrie says he's going to get fed up with the current roster.
That's true. But I think if you build a strong team around those two guys, and I think a guy like John Collins is the kind of player that they need. A guy who doesn't necessarily need a lot of shots, a guy who plays good team basketball, plays hard at both ends. I think those are the kind of pieces that you need to build around Luka Doncic and Kyrie that can help make that team a serious contender next season.
Yep, give you about 10 to 15 points a game.
Yeah.
Snag you close to 10 rebounds.
Yep.
I mean, can occasionally like pop the three from the corner. So yeah,
I mean,
I could see that helping them.
For sure. I think he's one of those guys that you look at and you say he's the perfect player to put along with guys like that. And I think a lot of teams, I don't think it's just the Mavericks. I think a lot of teams who are contending for a championship next season is going to look at a player like John Collins and say, that's a pretty good fit for what we have.
Yep.
You know? So, now we're about to step into your wheelhouse, right? So,
mine.
Let's talk about...
Goody, let's go.
So, we're not talking about the SEC football schedule for 2023. We're peeking ahead.
Yeah, that's boring. That's boring.
We've already covered that enough, right? So the SEC football schedule for 2024 has some really interesting games on it, in my opinion, right?
Yes, it does.
I mean,
well, first of all, if you're a Georgia fan, we're going to start with them.
Yeah.
They have to go to Tuscaloosa and play Alabama. And then they have to go to Ole Miss, to Kentucky, and then Texas. That's going to be a fun atmosphere for a Saturday. I mean, Austin is going to be crazy. Not to mention they also have Jacksonville, which is a neutral site for Florida.
Yeah.
They also get Auburn at home, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. I mean, that's a pretty tough schedule.
So just think about what you're...
Not as many cupcakes that year than this year or in the previous years.
So just think about what you're looking at, though, when you look at that schedule, though, right? So just think about it. So you're talking about Alabama on the road.
Yep.
I mean, that's obviously going to be a crazy game. You're talking about Texas, right? So now you're talking about Arch Manning, probably. Who knows what his situation is going to be by the time 2024? Because he'll be the guy then, most likely.
Yeah.
So that could be really interesting there as far as those kind of games. You know, just Ole Miss. I mean, so
Lane Kiffin's always a wild card. He could show up and score 50 points a game, and you know you're going to get a high-powered offense, but that defense, it needs a little bit of work. A little bit of work, Lane.
Doesn't it kind of add a crazy dynamic, though, when you consider Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC?
It does. It's very odd to me. As a lifelong SEC fan, I can remember getting up on Saturdays and flipping on the TV and seeing the CBS, the intro music, and just seeing Gary Danielson and Uncle Vern
Lundquist,
and getting super pumped up. And then through all that time, no Texas, no Oklahoma, and now you get to see them every Saturday. It's going to be really weird, honestly, to see burnt orange and crimson and cream.
I mean,
I don't know.
Doesn't it just seem like at some point we're just going to have like 2 college conferences and that's it?
Yeah. Give us about 6 or 7 years.
I mean, that's kind of crazy. Just when
I mean, it is. It's like a super conference, and it's not really fair, honestly. I mean, but hey, that's the way life is right now in college football. I mean, the landscape's changed so much, even in the last 2-3 years, with the transfer portal, NIL, and now conferences. It is a complete shell of itself of what it used to be. But you got to deal with change.
Yeah, look, I'm down for it. I mean, like I was talking last week, I kind of talked about how I grew up watching Big Ten football, right? I mean, I grew up in Big Ten.
3 yards in a cloud of dust, baby.
Well, okay, I think that's the perception.
In the snow. There's no dust in the snow.
Right,
so
yeah,
let me take that back.
Doesn't always snow, but I get where you're going.
3 yards
right?
in a cloud of snowflakes.
Right. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, just covering Ohio State and Illinois and Michigan and those games. Yeah, it's a different brand of football. It's a different style of football. So I understand. So that's why. But I heard heat from so many years. I used to argue with so many SEC football fans for years because SEC football fans take this thing personally, man. So we be on social media and we be talking about. Look, I mean, I've seen it face to face now. I have so much respect for the SEC football, and I have no choice because they win the championships every year. So
it's kind of hard to go against that.
It's kind of hard to go against them. But yeah, SEC football is so impressive. I mean, just having a close-up view.
Well, Scott, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you here. I personally don't have a SEC fandom for the conference as a whole. As a casual SEC fan, I'm definitely most certainly an Alabama fan first.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, I always wonder about that. So with
I don't care. As long as Auburn loses, I'm cool with it.
that's right. So
And
you're-
Tennessee. But everybody else, whatever. Hey, it is what it is. Like I like Georgia too. I respect them. I mean, they took our coach, and then they won a couple of titles. I mean,
you knew that was going to happen at some point, right? I
Oh,
mean, out of
yeah,
all the people,
yeah.
Nick Saban, all
definitely
those
saw that one
years-
coming. I mean, and good for him too, man. That go back to your alma mater, win a couple of championships, get paid a ton of money. Life's looking pretty good if you're Kirby right now.
Do you think that UGA has become the new Alabama? I know that's always a sore spot question, but I had to ask that finally when we're doing the show.
Yes, I'd say so.
Really? That's hard for you to say, ain't it?
No. I mean, when you win back-to-back championships, it's not hard for me to say. It's not hard for me to see.
Okay.
I mean, Alabama's lost their way on defense, and that's really what's been their mantra. That's been the thing that's kind of the glue that's held everything together is that defense. No matter what the offense was, they knew they always had a rock-solid defense. They always had that alpha male linebacker that was just going to step up and make a play when they needed to, but it hadn't really happened. I mean, you look at last year's team, they had the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
They had the first offensive selection and the first defensive selection in the draft. They go 1 and 2 with Bryce Young and Will Anderson, and they don't win their conference. Like,
That's kind of wild.
it's
Is old man Nick just is he losing his touch?
I don't know.
Has he not changed with the game?
That's tough to say, but I can definitely say the coordinators last year were not setting their players up for success as they should have.
Okay. Well,
But
look,
getting back to the schedule, though, it's cool. I like to see it. You got a lot of stuff going on there.
can you imagine just the hype that's going to be on game day when UGA goes? They have to go to Alabama, right? I mean, can you just imagine the hype on game day when they come to Tuscaloosa? I mean, that's probably going to be a night game, I'm guessing, probably. By the time we get there.
Yeah, it depends. I'm not sure what time, but either way, it doesn't matter. Who cares about the time? When
That's
they're
true.
on, they're on, and everybody's gonna be watching them. So, I mean, get your popcorn ready, folks.
So let's just advance here. Let's get past this, and before we get out of here,
You don't want to talk about SEC football anymore?
well,
Scott?
we can if that's what's on your mind. Because
I mean,
next is what's on your mind.
I can't talk about Big Ten football. I mean, a little bit, but not much.
Well, why? I mean, a lot of big-time players come from the Big Ten, right? I mean, where do you think some of the great quarterbacks the last 20 years came from, like Drew Brees and Tom Brady? I'm
I
just
know,
saying.
right?
You know?
No,
Big-
I got you.
Big Ten.
I'm just saying I can't. I know my limitations, but there is one thing I did want to hit on
that?
for my time, and it's actually the Alabama schedule for 2024.
Oh,
Yeah, so they're kind of sticking it to them. All right, so they get Auburn, obviously. That's at home. They get Georgia at home, Missouri, and South Carolina. Okay, manageable. But then they go to LSU, to Oklahoma, to Tennessee, and then to Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt, gimme game.
right. That's a
But
walkover.
LSU, Oklahoma, and Tennessee, that's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
That is a lot. And when you already have to play Auburn and Georgia, too, that's 5 games that are not going to be easy.
No, I mean,
I honestly don't expect them to win all of those for sure. I mean, I could potentially see 2 losses.
look, with Texas and Oklahoma coming, man, I mean, business is about to pick up. I mean, for as much attention as the SEC already gets, you add Texas and Oklahoma to the mix, business is about to pick up really fast. So before we get out of here, look, let me say what's on my mind, all right? So I know in Alabama, you guys don't have a NFL football team, right? So I'm just really looking forward to, as I keep watching this NFL football, I'm looking forward to the NFL season. I'm looking forward just to see these different storylines and everything like that. I'm watching these storylines every day. DeAndre Hopkins is still out there as a free agent. We don't know where he's going. I guess he's, the Patriots are looking at him. But, hey, we got to get up out of here. We got to run up out of here fast. Brett is giving me the wrap. Lee, thanks for coming in, man. I hope you can be in as soon as possible.
Had fun.
In the future. That's been Sports Night on a Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow night.
See you.